Hello again, everyone. This is JJ, also known as Bion King, here on YouTube, as you can see down below if you're using a phone or computer. Which most of you probably watch this on a computer because I like to, but if you're watching this on a phone, good for you. Anyways, another deck tech for today. It's going to be another standard deck. So the first video I ever made was standard. This is my fifth video, so it's going to be around kind of the same thing. It's going to be burned, but this time the colors are different. This time it is Rakdos, which is red and black. And it also has another sub-theme to it besides burn, and that is vampires. So today's deck tech is basically black-red vampires. So, let's start off. So, let's start off with our land base. We have 8 mountains, 8 swamps, 2 blighted fen. So, blighted fen, it just taps to add 1 colorless to your mana pool, but you can pay 4 generic and a black, tap this, sack this, and target opponent has to sack a creature. And with this burn deck, you're kind of getting rid of a lot of your opponent's creatures, but except for like bigger ones, because this is burn and it just really damages your creature's smaller opponent, your opponent's smaller creatures. Sorry, I'm kind of tongue-tied today. Anyways, and then 4 Evolving Wilds, because, I mean, they're fetch lands, and fetch lands help you thin your deck and search for basic lands if you're kind of screwed in a certain color. Then you got Foreboding Ruins. It's one of the newer Shadowlands. It's the black-red one this time, except this time you reveal a swamp or mountain card, and then if you do, this comes into the battlefield untapped. And then the card below that is Smoldering Marsh. If you watched the last video, which was Alesha, Tiny Leaders, this one is a swamp mountain, so it's called a Tangle Land. This enters battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. So basically those mountains and swamps are basic lands. Now, since this is burn, everybody thinks with burn, I mean, modern burn, everything should be below 3 in a certain way. Everything on here isn't below 3 in a specific way. So, let's just show you. So, with our 1-drops, we have Lightning Axe. As an additional cost to cast Lightning Axe, discard a card or pay 5. This deals 5 damage to target creature. So, it's good, but you're only running 1. If you have more, run. Run them. They're just good. Then we have 2 dead weights. So, dead weight, enchanted creature gets -2/-2, and it's enchant creature. So, -2/-2 for a 1 is quite good, especially since if they have bigger creatures. I did that against one of my opponent's big creatures, and then hit it with a burn spell and killed it off. And it was quite big, it was like a 7/7. Then we have Indulgent Aristocrat, so lifelink 2. Or lifelink for a 1/1 for 1, black. It has lifelink itself, and then pay 2, sack a creature, put a 1/1 counter on each vampire you control. So, like I said earlier, the theme around this deck is vampires, but there's also one extra theme, which is going to be coming up here very, very soon in the next card, which is Falkenrath Gorger. Each vampire creature card you own that isn't on the battlefield has Madness. Madness cost is equal to its madness cost. Or its mana cost. So, with Madness, if you discard a card with Madness, discard it into Exile. So, Exile is a different zone than Graveyard. And when you put that card into Exile, and if you cast it for its Madness card cost, it goes back into your Graveyard. Because whenever you cast a card, it goes back into your Graveyard unless it says Exile afterwards. But Madness goes into your graveyard, and Madness cards can be cast at instant speed. But with Madness, you have to discard the card. And in here, there are a lot of discard outlets, with the next card like Insolent Neonate. So 1/1 for 1, Menace. This creature can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. So discard a card, sack him, draw a card. So with Madness, you can, discard one of your Madness cards, sack him, and then you get to draw a card. So he's kind of a little cantrip on a card. And a cantrip is just anything that helps you draw. So Our next one, we have Call the Bloodline. So pay 1, discard a card, put a 1/1 Black Vampire Knight creature token with life ink onto the battlefield. Kind of works well with the Indulgent Aristocrat. Excuse me. Anyway, you can only activate it once each turn, so that's kind of bad, but you can activate it during your opponent's turn, which is good, because like I said, Madness cards can be cast at instant speed if you pay the Madness. Then our next one, we have 2 Air Falconwraths. So discard a card, transform Air Falconwrath, activate this ability only once each turn. So she's a 2/1 for 2, and then she turns into a 3/2 right there, if you can see. She turns into a 3/2 flyer. So it's like a 2/1, and then you discard a Madness card, and you got a 3/2 flyer. And the next one, which really helps out with your discard outlet, is Tormenting Voice. As an additional cost to cast Tormenting Voice, discard a card. Draw 2 cards. So you can discard a Madness card, and sometimes with Madness cards, sure, you're not going to have the mana because you're spending them on other Madness cards. But if you do, it's good. It will help you draw 2 cards and potentially use one of yours for using this. So that's good right there. And then we have Olivia's Bloodswarm flying 2/1. It can't block, so that's bad. But the way I use it is because if you pay 1 red, target vampire gains haste until end of turn. Every creature in here except 1 is a vampire. And we're going to get to her not soon, but soon enough. Then we have a Silent Visitor. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand, you draw a card and lose 1 life. So this isn't just you, this is also your opponent. In this deck, you kind of empty out your hand very quickly, which kind of sucks, so that's why you have Tormenting Voice and this to help you draw cards. And then we have 3 Avacyn's Judgment. So 2, but it has Madness, 1 red, and an X. So this deals 2 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and their players. But if its Madness cost was paid, it deals X damage divided as it deals X instead. So say you have a bunch of mana and you pay 10 for X, you're going to deal 10 damage divided. Now on to our 3 drops. We have 2 Olivia Mobilized for War. The newer Olivia isn't as good as the old Olivia, but she's still okay. So a 3/3 for 3 flyer, not bad, passes the vanilla test, especially since it's got flying. But whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may discard a card. Like I said, there's a lot of Madness cards in here, but if you do, put a 1/1 counter on that creature, it gains haste until end of turn and becomes a vampire in addition to its other types. So, I did also talk to my local judge. You cannot have 1 Olivia on the battlefield and then bring out another one and decide to discard a card in order to give the newest one that came in haste and a 1/1 counter. The state-based rules check first for the legend rule. So the legend rule dies, one of your Olivias has to die. So that's kind of a problem, but oh well. And then we have Stenzia Masquerade. So attacking creatures you control have first strike. First strike means they deal damage before any other creature has first strike. And then whenever a vampire you control deals combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on it. So say Olivia hit an opponent, instead of it being a 3/3, it's now going to become a 4/4, but of course they're going to take 3 first, and then you put the counter on it. So you got 2 of those, and it has Madness for its converted mana cost, which is 3. And the same colors too. Now the next one, which was an obviously needed reprint for this set, was Fiery Temper. So 3, 2 red, and a generic. Fiery Temper deals 3 damage to target creature or player. It's a Madness Lightning Bolt. So Lightning Bolt's an older card that's used in Modern, basically by every deck that runs red. But it deals 3 damage to target creature or player. But if you have Madness, well, if you can trigger Madness, it only costs 1 red. So yeah, that's why it's called the Madness Lightning Bolt. Then our next one we have is a Cursed Witch. This is the only non-vampire in the deck. So, spells your opponent casts that target a Cursed Witch cost 1 less to cast. So you think, oh, that kind of sucks, but she's a 4/2 herself. But when she dies, return it to the battlefield transformed under your control attached to target opponent. Well, her other side is spells you cast that target your opponent only cost one less to cast as well. So when she flips over, it kind of screws your opponent over more than it screws you over. But not only that, your opponent loses one each turn and you gain one. So our next one are 5 drops, and then we got one more card after this and we're done. So our first one is from under the floorboards. So pay 2 black and 3. Put 3 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield tapped, and you gain 3 life. So this is kind of our other only non-vampire card in here, but they're tokens, so I'm not really including it as our main creatures. But it has madness, so if you can get the madness cost, you put that many zombie tokens and gain that much life. Then we have Twins in Morrow State, 3/5 for 5, or madness for 3. So it's okay. And then our kind of last two are incorrigible use. So haste, 4/3 with haste for 5, and then it's got madness for 3. So 4/3 for 3 with haste. Oh, that's gonna be fun. That's kind of gonna screw you over your opponent because they wouldn't expect it. And now kind of our last really good burn spell. So burn from within deals X damage to target creature or player. If a creature is dealt damage this way, it loses indestructible until end of turn. There is only one other card I know that gets rid of indestructible besides this, and that card's in green. This card is red. Red isn't really usually one to where it's like, make them lose stuff. Well, yes it is, but not like indestructible or anything. It's more like make you lose creatures. So, yeah. Anyways, everybody, that was my second standard deck I have out of 3. I hope you all enjoy and like the video. Now, again, these decks aren't the end-all to be-all of decks. You can upgrade them and fix them as you may. You can add, more lightning axes. You can't add in more fiery tempers or anything because you can only use 4 of each in a deck. Except when you draft, because when you draft you can use more than 4. And in singleton formats you can only use 1. Anyways, yeah, you can add in more. So, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and have a good day. Bye!